What's up, people? We're here. I'm Brian. That's Scott. It's time to be rad for Jesus.
Use this gospel for the kingdom. Dude, that song's fire.
Right? It's so good.
I listened to it like 3 times in a row. I was like, dude.
I know. I'm working on episode of Pastor Reacts for it, and it got me emotional. Like, yeah. I was like, I was just like hyped on that, and we will get to that in a minute. First, before we get into anything else, I do want to talk about merch. We launched some merch, and it's cool. We sold a couple hoodies already because somebody wanted to rep the stuff. They're pretty dope. We've got currently a black one and a mint colored one that say "Be Rad for Jesus" on the front, and then on the arm it says "Radically Different." And so that's kind of hype. The person who bought them, shout out to Jake in Indiana. And so excellent. If you live in Indiana, Jake, keep an eye out for a guy rocking a hoodie.
Spreading the gospel of rad.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing is, like, because I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about their merch and how, like, we don't just like other podcasts who just like put their logo on it. Like, we got sick stuff. And I was like, but our logo and our like message, the name of our podcast is a slogan to live by. Go be rad for Jesus, be radically different and radically awesome in this world in his name. And so, like, I thought that was kind of, like ironic that I was listening to this podcast where they're hyping up they're hyping up their merch, and I'm going, I don't know, man. I actually really want the stuff that says "Be Rad for Jesus." But we got embroidered hats, we got 5 panels, we got truckers, we got flat bills, we've got t-shirts, and back to, it was like our second episode when we were talking about cancel culture. Yeah, we got "Cancel Your Reactionism" shirts. They're kind of dope. There's a neon blend one, and then there's a like a retro Kodak. Retro Kodak color, like old school, like 80s VHS tape kind of vibes. And those are all available. You can find the merch by going to beradforjesus.com, and it's pretty cool. Scott, any thoughts? What, which item you picking up first? We're waiting on.
I'm getting delivery. The "Cancel Your Reactionism" because that is a slogan that I feel like everybody needs to hear that I see.
Yeah, I know, right?
Just because it's a good slogan for just life, even if you're not a follower of Jesus in any way. It's just a good, like, stop reacting to everything, for Pete's sake. Like, just settle down,
Yeah, calm down on the massive reactions. Cancel culture is getting out of hand. It eliminates dialogue. Let's slow it down and learn to talk with one another again. Yes. And yet again, another way to be radically different from the rest of the world is to find ways of peaceful, we can still debate, we can still disagree, but let's respond in thoughtful ways that are useful and helpful instead of just adding to the noise, right? And the ire and everything else. Don't be like the political ads. Yeah. It's like impossible to watch even internet TV right now because everything's a terrible political ad. So.
Well, and we have this, I got my sample ballot, and I'm like, I have to just spend an evening reading through. There's Prop 26 and 27 in California, and they're like.
Those are the ones that are about homelessness, but they fund sports betting.
Well, it's like, and it's
which
so
goes
confusing.
Together. Okay, so Scott, you were telling me about Midway is what it's called? It's called
MidJourney.
MidJourney.
So let me just do a fake one so that we can get it out of the way. I don't want to spoil anything. So we'll just do like a cute robot cat eating grass.
It's just going to pull clips from Lightyear. Because that thing was adorable.
Basically, do you want me to? So let me explain what it is first. Okay. So
go.
This, I don't remember how I heard about this, but it's basically a artificial intelligence that you interact with through an app or a thing called Discord. If you don't know what Discord is, it's like I don't know why it's so popular, because I thought it was only for gamers, but like a lot of people have Discords. Like some of my like music artists that I follow have Discord servers, and basically Discord is like an audio interface that you can like join chat rooms when you're playing video games, so that you have your own chat outside of the game. You don't have to worry about being in the same lobby, all that stuff, which is cool. And you can post stuff. So it's like a really, really parsed down social media thing. But MidJourney uses Discord to do what it does. And what it does is you give it a prompt and it will spit an image back at you in 45 seconds.
Nice.
And then you can we'll go through it together. It's really fun. And then I'll take you into like a room where you can see what other people are doing. And I'll tell you why we're bringing this up on this podcast. Because to me, there's like something really interesting about the way people react with this and interact with it that I think is what shows the yearning that a lot of people have. So let me just share. Okay, so what's the prompt? So we're just going to do, you have to type in imagine. All right, and then we're going to do a prompt.
Let's, okay. Who would Jesus vote for?
This is going to be so bad.
I know.
So who would Jesus vote for? And then I'm going to, you don't, like, this is just part of what I think is fascinating about this, and I'll tell you why when we get into the room, about like prompt crafting. So I'm going to try to add like, what do we want it to look like? Like a political poster?
Oh, yeah.
Political poster. Propaganda? Like that? Propaganda?
I don't know.
Propaganda.
One of those. Propo.
I don't know. Propaganda. That looks
Propa.
better. But Propa?
I don't know.
How do you spell propaganda?
I can Google it. Yeah, Propaganda.
Propaganda. Okay. Propaganda.
Because you got to make it proper.
8K. Yeah, high contrast maybe.
Did you say 8K?
Yeah, that's just telling it to be detailed.
Huge. So we can zoom in and check out all of its awesomeness.
3:2 would make more sense, I think, for a poster. We'll see. This might be nothing. It might just be shapes. So we'll see. So basically, right now I typed it in. You can see. I doubt you can see my mouse, but I'll highlight.
Yeah.
So, who would Jesus vote for? Political poster propaganda. That's what I fed into the artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's going to feed us something. It's already getting so
I'm
good.
Excited.
And so
I love watching them come in. This is so funny.
It's updating as it's figuring out how to use the words we gave it, and it's going to give us 4 versions.
Oh,
and so the 4 versions are just like, here's its first pass, and if you like it, that's funny. Who Jesus?
Who Jesus?
Oh, he's got red eyes now. That's
dude. That is so. Oh my gosh, so accurate. Okay,
so basically, a lot of like its downfalls, like it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, so you can see here, like he's got kind of evil eyes. It says vote. It says who Jesus. Kind of has some. This is just looks like a weird like Nazi background for a poster.
Yeah, with like a weird cross that like comes out a little bit.
Yeah,
in
a little
front
wonky.
of a crowd of people, because we got to describe this for the audio listeners, right?
Right.
So we've got one that's just Jesus close up, just a weird face of a guy,
posterized, I would say.
Posterized, yeah, and then it's very interesting. And then there's like a clipped on, like what on earth? They're making it look like real. Like there's a weird clips on the corners of another one that's very posterized, very Nazi propaganda vibes. It's like a black silhouetted crowd with a huge cross kind of coming out of the crowd. One figure standing up above everyone else with a red background, and that's bleeding onto a white card of
that's
some
like
sort.
Pinned on something.
Yeah, that's pinned
like
on something or clipped to it. And then option 3 or 4, I don't know.
It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Okay, so option 3 is who Jesus, and then a whole bunch of small text that I can't see. You could probably tell us.
It doesn't generate text, so it just has weird characters to like represent as if text was there. So
nice, and then it's got like maybe Jesus silhouetted standing in front of a podium, and that one's yellow with like a red border.
Okay,
and that's weird.
So watch this. So
and then
this is
do the top left one. Do the first one.
So what we'll do is we're gonna see these buttons.
Yeah.
So this is upscale. and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this is re-roll 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to do an upscale of 1, an upscale of 2, a re-roll of 1, a re-roll of 2, and then we'll do a re-roll of 4 because that one kind of had some. See,
dang, dude, this is cool. So upscale of 1. So we didn't even describe that one. So that one, it's like, is he standing in front behind?
It looks like a mugshot. It looks like a mugshot.
It looks like a mugshot, but
like it says, some of them say would vote or Jesus vote. They all have red eyes, which is creeping me out.
Yeah. So it's got Jesus with red eyes, long hair, beard, mustache, and like right at his chin is either a card or like a newspaper that says
here's
vote.
The new version of one of them. See, it's getting more real in some, it's getting less real in others.
Yeah.
So that's the re-roll.
That one's just a picture, like a weird portrait of Jesus.
So here's an upscale. He looks like a drug addict.
Oh my gosh. That's terrifying. Okay, wait. So that one, he looks like he's strung out and or dying of like some zombie virus.
Right.
And then it says JJ vote.
And then here's the upscale. That one's finished, I think. Or no, almost.
Cool.
It's 90%. So that one's just like a cool like propaganda poster of Jesus. And that's a really accurate, I would say. It's Middle Eastern Jew, like it's not a white dude with a beard for Christmas.
Yeah. He's kind of yellowish, but I mean, that's pretty dope.
That seems like the coloring of the. So here's
that's pretty cool, man. That one.
Then this is the new thing they added. So we'll do the beta upscale. Because this one is a new, like they're adding a new tag to it to like the people who made this, like don't even understand it fully. So here's the propaganda poster. So this looks like a flag now.
Yeah.
So
dude, that is also pretty like crazy looking. You know what that reminds me of? I did propaganda styled graphics for Jarrett Sanctum back in the day, where it was like the rise of the kingdom or something.
Yeah, it was Supernatural. That was like the series.
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't Supernatural. It was something else. It was like, because it was very like, we went way propaganda look, and I had a couple that were like too far. I did like mask guys in gas masks, like crowded out, and it was pretty intense. But dude, this looks like vote for Dracula Jesus.
Yeah, it's really weird. This is the only usable one so far. These they're getting warped. Flags. They're getting warped though, like because it doesn't know. Like it added a cross, but it didn't know where to how to make it right.
Oh my gosh! So the one on the top left, so on the cross propaganda silhouettes, as it's redoing that, on a couple of them, it just looks like a bunch of people looking at a cross, and then maybe like the guy who's presiding over the crucifixion staring at it in like a Nazi rally. But then like one of them, the top left now has like the cross arms have like transferred to the person's silhouette,
right?
And it reminds me of this really cheesy, like discount store Christian video called Christ Arms. And it's like a kid with 2 gold crosses for arms. And they're like, they threw beans on him. And I cannot find video of it anywhere, but the jacket of the DVD or the VHS makes absolutely no sense.
Wow.
And I want to see it so bad. So if anybody finds that, please send it.
Okay.
I'll give you an address. Reach out. We would like to watch it.
Let's see. Jesus and the woman at the well. Let's just do that. At the well
or caught in adultery, because that's where like the putting stones down and everything.
Oh, right. We're going to do that. Jesus and the woman caught in adultery.
That could get dirty though. It might do.
No, it won't. It won't. They don't let it. It doesn't. It never gets blue.
All right, that's good.
Because they have. Well, I've seen like one thing that was sort of risque, but I wouldn't be embarrassed if my kids saw it. It was just like, that's a little provocative.
Yeah.
Jesus and the woman caught in adultery. Jesus is drawing in the dirt.
Yeah.
While the Pharisees.
Oh my gosh, you're giving it so many prompts.
Oh, dude, people do paragraphs, bro. Like,
that's
Jesus
awesome.
is drawing in the dirt while the Pharisees are shamed into putting down their stones.
This is going to be
Rembrandt
awesome.
Style. I just like putting in like an artist, Rembrandt style, oil painting.
Yeah. Okay. This is so cool.
Dynamic
this is
lighting.
Called MidJourney.
Yes. Dynamic lighting, 8K, We'll do like highly detailed.
And
HDR is a good one to put in there just because it adds contrast.
Okay.
And then we'll do a big like an aspect ratio of
I'm gonna do a standard like wallpaper 16:9. If it comes out cool, we can throw it up on our
we can make this into merch.
Yeah.
16:9. All right. So then so we'll do this as our last one, then we'll jump into the room real quick, and then we can
okay. We got to do one more after this though, because we've got to do
let me do it now because I can let them both go.
All right, awesome.
Be rad for Jesus.
Do Be Rad for Jesus and see what it does, and just leave it at that.
Style? Let's give it a style.
What do you call Art Deco or like
Art Deco logo or Art Deco design logo?
Fluorescent colors or 90s, 80s. I don't know. Like, will it take all of those kind of things into
80s
account?
Colors? Oh, look at what's coming. It's magical.
Oh, that's so rad. I bet there's actual paintings out there that look almost just like this, and it's like ripping off, like Gustave Doré's wood cuttings or something.
Everything it does is stuff that men have made.
Yeah,
there's
that's
nothing
true.
it has that it's making. It's wow. For those of you not benefiting from the video feed, you just have to see this.
You're gonna have to go to YouTube or the website. Well, can we like grab these images to put on the show notes?
The previews are like really like this is as big as they are. So like
holy cow, that's awesome though.
All right, it's done. So here's the 4.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like weird because it's like not like this one here.
Wow.
Like, you can't really tell who Jesus is, but it made this beautiful painting.
Whoa, man, that's cool.
It's just neat that it made this in like however long we've been talking about it. So
yeah, wow. Okay, so they're all like.
Let me finish this prompt real quick. Go ahead and describe them if you can. But
so I'll talk through that while you're typing out random Be Rad for Jesus prompts, and that'll be the last one. So this is. This is interesting. So Rembrandt's style seems to have really done a lot there because it's got very rich earth tones to it. It has that kind of soft lighting, but a lot of good contrast that a lot of Rembrandt paintings have. Like it kind of reminds me of there's a really beautiful Rembrandt painting of, I don't know what it's called, but it's taking Jesus off the cross. And it's just gorgeous. And this reminds me of that. It's kind of in a forest. It looks like they put him in a forest setting, dappled kind of soft lighting. What's that in okay. So the top left one is, like there's always somebody. Is that Jesus in the scarlet robe in each one?
I don't know. That's what I don't know. Because
it almost looks like a woman. There's like a head covering of some sort.
Yeah, or is this Jesus? Like, or are they putting the stones down and this is the woman or something?
Yeah, I don't know. That looks like a pile of dung. I don't know.
Well, let's redo like this one's too blurry to know. Let's redo this one and this one.
Yeah, the top two.
And this one too.
Yeah, and 1, 2, and 4.
1, 2, and 4. Okay, we'll just do 1. Oops. 2.
Whoa.
And 4.
So the rad for dude, that's funny because that's very similar to what I made for that.
Yeah. That's fun.
Okay, so while we're waiting on re-rolls of, I feel like we're playing D&D all of a sudden.
I know, and it's wonderful.
But okay, so Be Rad for Jesus prompts. It gave us a white shirt with a faded gradient that goes from hot pink to yellow through an orange. Just in a big square. And then we've got a fluorescent pink shirt on it, like a real mock-up. And then it says Reabd, maybe. And then it's got
the other
like
two are just cool abstract 80s art. And there's almost a cross here. See it?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's rad. I would definitely take that, add the top of the cross in there, and then turn that into a Be Rad for Jesus shirt.
Here, we'll upscale that one.
That's pretty cool.
Ooh, look.
Okay, so now we're back to the paintings. So let's see. Oh my goodness.
So it's like nobody has a face.
The bottom
really.
left has like a person melting into the ground. What is going on there?
So that's what I mean about it. It's so wild. Like, okay, so let me hop into. Oh wow,
dude, these are beautiful.
The other reroll. They're just cool to look at. They just look like paintings. Yeah, like this is like not a person. Look, where's their anatomy?
I think they're like down on the ground, maybe like cross-legged, right. And then there's like, but I don't know where the rest of them is.
I know. I feel like I want to upscale one of them. Okay, wait. So this could be Jesus.
Yeah.
So let's upscale 3.
That one. Okay.
Upscale. Ooh,
3
look at
on
that.
That's dope. Oh man, we got to keep that.
So let me save that one. So basically, okay, so this will finish up over here. So I'm going to hop right over into the MidJourney. This is the actual MidJourney Discord.
Cool. Whoa. Oh, that's got Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah. So you can put celebrities in there. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
Wow.
But that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. Those are like really cool paintings of Scarlett.
Sometimes they don't show the prop. Look at that.
Ugh, that's Victorian goblin punks.
So these are like highlights.
Like steampunk goblins. Whoa, that is amazing.
Yeah, no, some of them are like, that's not a person.
Wow. Yeah, that's just
but it looks like a
CG.
person. Like, look at this.
So
that's creepy.
I wonder if it's taking it's got to be taking like modeling photos and then turning them into something. Whoa. Like now we've got like evil, like dark elves of steampunk future.
Wow.
That's dope. That looks like something out of Chappie, but like more advanced.
The Immortals versus the Mutates, world building challenge. Wow.
Well, that's pretty dope. Oh my gosh. Some of this stuff is intense, man.
Wow. So let me hop into a room real quick because this is what I wanted to talk about. Okay.
But just I'm sorry for the audio listeners. This is confusing and annoying.
But here's what we'll get. Here's why I want to hop into a room.
Okay.
So we're on home. Okay. I want to look through some of these. They're so cool. All right. And I can take any one of these, by the way. They're all like people share them because they want to like share them. So
yeah.
If I go to general one, okay, we're just hopping into a room. Okay. So now
that's awesome. Look, white, beautiful muscle men with not beard, realistic full portrait hipster poster, 4K high details. And it's got like a yoked dude, but one of them doesn't have a head. One of the four.
David Hockney painted Hulk movie scenes. So the other thing you can do is put in an image as a seed and then it will work with that. Samurai woman holding sword. Look at that.
Wow.
So that's just like, it's going to need some different versions, okay? Look at this.
That's crazy.
Very detailed distance picture. Like the eyes sometimes are a little off because it can't quite get the head right all the time.
That's so funny.
And a possum playing football, 1930s.
Whoa, that's rad. It does look like a possum playing football with like acorns or something and then has like a 30s style leather helmet.
So what I want to do is I want to get all the way down to like the newest. That looked
like Mads Mikkelsen. All right.
I'm going to go all the way down. Okay. So this is the fresh stuff. We're basically going to watch this refresh. So these are people like... See, gang rapper Vladimir Putin.
Oh, okay.
It looks like Jimmy Smits.
The one looks like Jimmy Smits. The other one looks like Vladimir Putin. Whoa.
Okay,
people are just like posting all sorts of craziness.
We're seeing all these things come through. So this is where I really was struck one day when I first found out about this. And I know this is really deep and philosophical, but like couple dancing on a New Year. That's beautiful.
That is. That's so cool.
In the style, they'll put the style of Peter Moorbacher, which I'm not familiar with him. So,
all right. But
these are literally other users just doing this right now. And what struck me about this is that there's this, and I can't say it yet. I haven't thought about it all the way through, but there's something just so spiritual about this. It's these people trying to get this distant thing to like communicate with them in the way they want. They want something from it. They're putting out these things and they're trying over and over and over and over and over to just get this communication to work. And they're just like, because they want the beauty. Like these people will spend hours in here trying to get this beauty out of this machine and they can't quite get the right prompt or the right thing. So they keep trying over and over and over until they're close enough to get, something that looks like what they wanted. And then it's just this beautiful interaction. And it reminds me not of my relationship with God. It's the opposite. It's what I think the world thinks of God. They think that it's this complicated thing that I want this beauty. I'm longing to just not feel dead. I want to see something so glorious and wonderful in this world. And I don't know how to get there. So I just keep trying to move my prompts around and keep saying the right thing. And maybe I'll experience that love or that acceptance that I'm looking for. And it just struck me as like, beyond this yearning I could see in these people, even in the silly things they're making. They just, there's this creativity that's in all of us as children of God. And this is just like a tool for these guys to use it and to make things that are mind-blowingly beautiful, just based on, like people wrote this software to just do this. But it's the way that people interact with it. Like, look at how much better that got.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Okay. So there's like this fairy elf girl in the woods that we saw a couple of raw pictures. And then as we go, people keep modifying them and they keep popping in. So is the stuff you were making in one of these channels too, or no?
So since I paid, like you can do a free trial. Anybody can do a free trial. Highly recommend it. You have to have Discord. Not everybody's familiar with it. It's not intuitive at all.
So it's just in Discord.
You go to MidJourney to start, midjourney.com or whatever to start it. Then you go in Discord and it will tell you how you go into like a newbie room number, blah, blah, blah. You type in /imagine and then you typed your prompt in and then you scroll all the way down and you kind of have to follow it around because you're with other people. Since I paid the $9 for 1 month, I can go into a private message with it and then it's just me and the bot. So I don't have to see other people's stuff. But I like seeing other people's stuff. So, I mean, if you're listening to this and you've ever felt that yearning for like beauty or wonder and mystery, like I promise you there's nothing like knowing God, because I have experienced MidJourney. I have experienced, a lot of things. And
what an appropriate name for it too.
Yeah. MidJourney.
Yeah. I mean, because that's kind of like what Tolkien, like why he called it Middle Earth. Like, I mean, it was kind of a Middle Ages sort of a reference, but it was also, I think, kind of this midway place between, where we come from and where we're supposed to be.
Yeah. This is like an 80s boombox. We need to steal that.
Dude, that's dope. Blade Runner, neon green. Yeah. See, we should have gone with like Blade Runner. Like,
and I wonder if we put, because I don't know if it'll do words.
Yeah. But even if we just get the design out there and then we use stuff like that. That's cool too.
Toonbox.
Tron Boombox.
Oh, Tron. I read Tune. I'm silly.
Yeah.
So see what I mean? That's a little risque. That's not, but it's not like inappropriate.
What the heck?
Dude, that is so
There's
real.
Like a weird, bloody guy covered in red paint or blood. Yeah.
Some of these are just like, but that's,
it's intense.
I spent this weekend.
To what you were saying about the longing and everything. I think too, it's very much like the false paths that religion can take us to, because it gets close and it gets us a return on what we asked for, but it doesn't, like, it's a weird twisted version. Like, it's not quite there. It's not quite the right thing. And it doesn't return something that's ultimately really satisfying. And yet in the mess, like a lot of it can be really beautiful and maybe even useful, but it, at best, it falls short of what we're truly meant to attain to, which is, eternity in the presence of God.
Right.
And that's what we're designed for and everything else. And so what a weird journey, but what a cool.
But you see what I mean though,
experience.
Right? Like when you just watch the people type stuff in there, you're just like, gosh, they're all looking for something.
Yeah.
They're all, and maybe it is just art, but some of them people will put in dark stuff. They'll put in like, hanging on by a thread with nothing to live for. And you're just like, they want to see that reflected back at them.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're feeling. So
trying to find a way
to me, I just saw this. I mean, maybe I'm over like thinking it, but I just thought it was like a deep, like thing that I saw in humanity, because we all have that, I spent this weekend, we did this thing at our church called Freedom Weekend. And, it's just like a good time to go through, spend a lot of time in just prayer and consideration. And, it's just so good, to like, one of the things we did, which was super like, so we did all these things, so it's kind of structured. It's like going through and just seeing like, hey, is there any area in your life you just haven't examined because you don't think about it? Like, is there stuff, unforgiveness you might be holding against somebody that you don't, like you don't think about every day. So it was just like a good time to slow down and do that. And, one of the things, so after we've done this a lot, we've kind of been churning stuff up. And then, so like the first like day and a half, it was like a day and a half. So the first like session was just like inventorying like strongholds that you could, so it's just like a list of things that could be strongholds. It's super long, and you just pray. It's like you're not manufacturing it. Just see if God highlights anything. You go through that. Do the same thing with like 4 different areas, like lies you believe about yourself, about others, about God. It was pretty good. It was just give you that time to kind of explore that and get right, get with Jesus. And
right.
Then the beginning of, so that's kind of all like yucky, right? You're just like, oh, look at all this stuff I do. And, you repent of it and yada, yada. Right. But then it's time to fill, right? So the first thing they had you do was so like, it's like, so after you've kind of spent this time exploring this stuff, then it's like, I want you to sit with your journal. And they just put on some music, just like, an ethereal pad,
Yeah.
And then it was like, and just ask God these questions. We'll give them to you. And then you're not striving. You just listen and hear what God says to you. Yeah. And it was, God, do you love me?
Ooh.
And it was just like, oh man, I still get emotional. Cause it was just like, he started telling me about when he made space, when he made space and all of the infinity, that was not a reflection of his love. That was born of his love.
Yeah.
So it was not like, oh, look at the stars. They're just like God. It's like, or that's how big, he like, it's like the bigness of God. And it's like, no, that was all born out of the love I have for my people and for you. And like multiple times, like it's so like in my prayer, I almost never hear God call me by like my son.
Yeah.
And that happened several times. And then someone who was not listening to anything I was doing or whatever, we had a prayer time. She came over and she goes, I just feel like God's saying, that's my son. I've claimed him. I've never regretted it. And of course I wept like a baby because, that's the longing that we all have. We don't know it. And for me, there's nothing, there was nothing like extra special about this weekend. It was just giving time to let God speak into that and to just say, who am I? Do you love me? How much do you love me? And for my sake, he already knows,
Yeah.
So it was really good. Like, so that's like kind of that MidJourney thing. I think that's what the world is looking for. And they'll never use those words. I think the world will never use words like that. Like I'm searching for God. I'm looking for love. But they know that something there could be so much more beauty and wonder. There it goes.
Yeah.
And they're just looking for that to be they're looking in the wrong places, not because they're shameful or bad, they just like, they're just looking in the wrong place. And that's our job, is to meet them where they're at, is to just say like, hey, everything you're looking for, you don't even have enough of an imagination to see how good it could be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like but it's not going to look anything like what you think, and it's not where you're looking. It's not, so that just kind of like, I think that all just wraps up into the gospel of just like, the gospel's more than salvation. It's knowing God and enjoying him forever.
Exactly.
So,
and that's a couple Sundays ago. I was preaching about, we're going through Luke at the time we were in 14 and talking about counting the cost. And looking at like all these different ways where Jesus says, like you've got to despise your family compared to me. You've got to take up your cross if you want to follow me, or you can't be my disciple. You've got to, and then he gives examples, somebody building a tower, won't they count the cost? Otherwise they'll get halfway through the project and find out they can't afford to finish.
It'll fail.
If they, if you're going to war and you look at a bigger army, don't you weigh the cost and go, can we really win? And if not, before you get into the middle of it, you go and sue for terms of peace ahead of time. So that way you don't get just slaughtered. And in these same ways, you've got to count the cost and of following me, because you can't go halfway and then stop. And then he talks about salt, because salt, if it loses its saltiness, is worthless. It's not even good for the ground or for the manure pile. It's just, it won't do anything good at all. And it's just thrown out and trampled on. And so, he's like, whoever has ears to hear, let him hear. And then ironically, immediately he says that. And then the next thing it talks about is how sinners and tax collectors gathered around Jesus to hear everything he taught.
Right.
And the Pharisees are like, this guy hangs out with the worst people. And Jesus is like, yeah,
So?
wow. Like,
come at
speaking
me, bro.
of people who don't listen, those guys. But this idea of, as I was preaching about it, I'm talking about like how heavy this cost is, but then why? Why is it worth it? Why should we even consider paying that cost and giving up everything and sacrificing everything? And like the rich young man who walks away from Jesus sad, he sees, he hears the call, he identifies what it is that would take to follow eternally. And he goes, nope, that's too much. I'm out.
Right.
And he bails on it and he walks away from it. And why does he do that? Because he wasn't really aware. Like he asked him, what does it take to acquire eternal life? He didn't really grasp what that looked like.
Right.
And the idea that like Jesus says, I've come to bring them life and life abundantly. Life to the full. And that idea, like all these things that people are searching for, a reason to live, a reason to go on, someone to identify with. We have that. We have a future to look forward to. We have a rich inheritance beyond our wildest dreams in the eternal kingdom. We have adoption into the eternal family of God. We have acceptance and forgiveness and redemption and rejuvenation and recreation, where not reincarnation, but where we will be given new bodies and a new heaven and a new earth and an eternal good place to exist, free of sin and free from the shackles and depravity of sin, free from the brokenness and corrosion of sin. And then on top of all of that, we get tastes and glimpses of it now. And we have this undying hope within us where and so I concluded with, passages from Ephesians where Paul talks about the incomprehensible riches of Christ, that this is the bounty from which God gave us his grace in Christ and his forgiveness. And then in 2 Corinthians 4, where he says, we have these treasures in jars of clay. That like all of this treasure and glory, we get bits of it now as well. And so even when we're crushed and everything else, even when the world is against us, even when we have to take up our cross, even when everything is falling apart, that we have this beautiful promise and presence of God within us in the Holy Spirit. And so Emmanuel is always true if we place our faith in Christ, that God is with us and in bodily in the Holy Spirit within us. And so in that we have true hope and grace and the presence of God, and only to be even further fulfilled in eternity. And it's just like, man, that is radically different from what the world even hopes to approach. And that is radically awesome compared to what, so much better than the best things that we can imagine or try to come up with. And to settle for those AI pictures of something that's not quite real, and like it messes up the eyes, it doesn't get the face right, the head is misshapen, or it drew most of a body and then left the rest of the anatomy off. And you get these weird, near great things, but it's not quite what you were hoping for. And it's not quite the entire thing. There's something wrong. There's something missing. And because ultimately for all of the things that we put in, there's an element of soullessness that is in that, where like the AI doesn't even know why what's wrong is wrong.
Right.
And even if we get to the point where that could be, even if the AI keeps improving and getting better to where it does dial it all in and it is able to make things perfectly, like those Scarlett Johansson portraits at the beginning of what we were scrolling through, really clearly looked like her and were beautiful paintings of her, very cool stylized looks.
We keep feeding the AI.
But even at that, it'll
never get
it
right.
Yeah. And even when it gets it right, like the concept here of where we're at in that journey right now in creating AI to do that, ultimately still, I mean, it's like a digital Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
We're trying to approach God or find our way to the same exact thing, this fulfillment of ultimate beauty and production without the one who is truly the creator. And it always falls short. All right.
Speaking of how awesome. All right, here we go. We'll go back.
We have some more Whoa,
Yeah.
the Be Rad for Jesus stuff is dope.
So look, this one. So I saved
that's
this one.
funny.
That one's pretty epic.
Yeah, that is.
But then, yeah, look at that one.
That's cool. I like that a lot.
And then this one came out, so I asked for more versions.
Yeah.
And look,
Be
it
Rad.
actually says "Be Rad."
That's cool.
And then look
I
at
like
this.
the B and the E as reversed out like threes almost like, and then wow.
So this we've actually got Jesus, but
He has an
got
arm coming out of his torso, and then, like the center of his torso, and then maybe a knee above
So I
that.
asked for
and
new
another
versions
leg.
of that. Now, this one he's actually looks like he's teaching.
Wow,
And
that's
there's
cool.
people here that are covering their ears. That's actually pretty deep.
Yeah,
That's a pretty deep.
But that guy's
deep
got like
painting.
an arm coming out of his chest.
Well, no, it's kind of like you can tell that's his elbow, but it's like you know.
No, the other one, the top.
Oh, right here.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and that there's some weirdness.
It's just
and
someone
that guy's
behind
got a hand foot. So that and
That's
Jesus
you
has
could
like
say
8 toes.
that's artistic choice. You know?
Yeah.
So this,
Oh, I like that.
yeah. So and then yeah, this one.
Dude, the Be Rad for Jesus stuff, like that's a good color scheme. And
Then look at this.
cool. Man,
This
those
is,
are
I don't know what's going on here, but
tentacles. Come over here and help.
and this guy has no arms. I mean, it's kind of disturbing, but it's also
Yeah.
beautiful. You know,
It is. It's weird. Like it's really, man, what strange and awesome rad
Yeah.
day.
Because then other times,
That's awesome.
I'm telling you what, other times it just like blows your mind on the first try, and you're like, how does it know? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool. So
Yeah. So anyway,
go check that out. We'll
Go
put
check
links
that
in our show notes and on the page on beradforjesus.com where we have all the show notes and everything else. I'll make sure to have several of these photos loaded in as well. So we'll put a gallery of some of that stuff so you can check it out that way if you're just listening to the audio version. And man, that's super cool. Not where I thought we were going to go, but very.
well, see, that's why I wanted to bring it up
very
because
fun
I
discussion.
feel like there's a huge undercurrent to why I'm interested in it.
Yeah.
'Cause, like I'm probably out of time almost with my $9 worth of fun, but it's just one of those things that like when I was watching it, I was just like, oh, this is silly. Like, what a silly thing. But then some of the prompts just made me go like they almost broke my heart. You know, it's just like, why would you feel the need to see an image of that, you know, and but yeah. So yeah, anyway, check it out if you're interested. It's fun to play around with. You know, you can make some really, because if you're not artistically talented at all, this is a great way if you're just like, there's something in my head. I wish I had this. You know, these things, you can get them pretty, like, you can get pretty high res, you know, to the point where you could probably print an A1 size, you know, thing pretty decently. That's, you know, and it's free. So, I mean,
Right.
but it's just fun. I think part of the fun was just being in the room with other people and just being like, why? Like this one guy was trying to do Principal Skinner as this, you know, like, Bart Simpson doing
awesome.
this, like, you know, all these things. And it was so weird how it would not get it perfectly right. But then other people get like, you know, it to look like a celebrity exactly. And you're like, what is it? You know, and that's that thing. Just what do I have to say to get you to do what I think you should do? You know, like, So,
which is absolutely how people approach God as well. And
100%.
And that's that whole thing about religion, that the idea of religion is, what do I have to do to appease God? And that's ultimately where like the Mormon faith lands, is you have to do these right things to please God. Islam, you have to do these right things, including, you know, the ultimate, like if you messed everything else up, then, you know, martyrdom will get you there. But that's not the goal even of Christian martyrs. It's not doing that to please God. It's going the opposite way and saying everything for Jesus because he gave all for me.
Right.
And so I will hold on to nothing in this life as much as knowing him. Right. And I will abandon everything else just in pursuit of, in favor of knowing him more. And it doesn't earn me anything better to give all these things up, but it does push him out of my life and reduce the quality of my life to hold these other things as idols and to not be willing to let those things go.
Yeah. And that's kind of what the Freedom Weekend, I go into those things sometimes feeling like, oh, that'd be nice if I felt more free, but It's not necessary. And you know what I mean? And really, like to your point, it's God already bought it at such a high price. And I'm not asking for anything he didn't promise. I'm not demanding anything. I'm not, I'm just going to him as a son and saying, how should I live? And, whom the son sets free is free indeed. And, there's areas where we all have, it's not like I'm free forever after that one thing. It's a walk with him. But that's what I think there's that half of the gospel that's inward, that the kingdom of God invades every corner of the heart. And the other half is, and that's where, the power of God is displayed, because that's stuff that I could testify to you all day about the power of God. But when God, refurbishes your heart, you don't need anybody's proof that God is real and that he loves you. So that's, you know what I mean? So it's like this beautiful thing where it's not just in practice. We live these principles like Judaism, which is basically that's, they're still trying to serve the same God, they're doing it through, being responsible basically for their own sin though. They're going through, and I will live clean so that I am sinless. You know what I mean? And that's their goal. I am responsible for my own sin. I'm responsible for my, for how I live and what I do. And, the Christian is responsible to walk with Jesus. Yeah. And he is then responsible for your sin. Right. So it's a totally different approach. And, but both of us should live the same. We should both be having a rabbi, right? And the rabbi is Jesus. And we look at what he does and we do what he does, and we live as he lived, and we, and that's so clear in scripture. And the more we do that, the more peace we have. One other thing, that just a real quick side note, I recommend this book. Did I bring this up last week? I don't know. No, it's The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer.
Maybe, but John Mark Comer's good.
Yeah. So, it's a great book, because he just talks about the speed of life being overwhelming for us, right? Even in the way we do things, we work. Even when we're home, we're doing. And so since then, other than this weekend, because I was doing a thing, but I really missed it. We've been taking like a full-on Shabbat, like, old school, like we just don't do anything on Saturday anymore. Right. And so I don't do any projects around the house. I don't shop. I don't, I read a book and I get bored, and it's wonderful because, and he uses this phrase a couple times, my soul catches up with my body. And I'm like, that's exactly what happens. Cause you're just like, and it's funny cause even we'll make plans and then it's like a mantra now. Go, there's 6 other days for that. If it's going to fall on a Saturday, there's 6 other days for that, know? And so I think that that's one thing that is also radically different. It's, stopping and not working at all, and just and not shopping and not, it's for me, I'm literally looking forward to it right now. It's Tuesday and I can't wait for Saturday, because I know that'll just be, I will look at my kids and when they ask for my attention, there will be nothing competing for it. Right. Like, whereas I'm always on my phone or whatever. And this is, that's awesome. So like, even stuff like that, like, I really think that that's where I'm going in my walk lately, is just, what did you do? Jesus not ran out of, that's the wrong term, but I'll use it anyway. He kind of ran out of gas over and over again. Right. And what did he do? He isolated and went to be with the Father and went to pray. And, because that was kind of how he got back to being able to fulfill his mission. It wasn't by like grinding and doing more meetings and more things and more, more prayer meetings and more. It was just like, no, I just need to be quiet. I need to be alone with the Father. And then I'm ready. Then I'm ready to go and give, Right. So even that aspect of living and yearning for things, because I think what's happened to me is that that yearning, ends up seeping into other things. So like, if I just go and do a thing this weekend, or if I go and buy a thing, or then I'll be happier, And it's true for like a day. And then you're like, gosh, we don't have a lot of money left. The credit cards, why is there $3,000 on the credit card? It's like, those kind of things. And it's been a good retooling, I think. Reading that book was kind of a good start. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
I think it's a good kind of just reminder to treat Jesus and his teachings very seriously in that way. But also the way he lived to treat that seriously, because, he didn't command us to he never commanded us to have solitude.
Right.
But he demonstrated it over and over again. He never says go, but he says when you're in your prayer closet,
Yeah.
So it's almost like this is a given. You will be alone with God,
Right.
And even stuff like that. So it was just, he does a good job breaking it down. He's a great author.
Yeah.
The audiobook was wonderful. I got it on Libby for free. So,
nice.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's my plug for someone elce's stuff.
Yeah,
also buy our merch.
Yeah, if you want,
maybe some of it will be MidJourney generated.
Soon. If you want to support the show, buy our merch and consider subscribing. Been on Patreon. We're going to launch that. Yeah, we'll launch a Patreon. We'll see if anybody wants to support. If you want to support us, jump on there and do that, and we'll get you some behind the scenes stuff and maybe even some exclusive merch down the road or something. What else? Subscribe. If you're on YouTube, click that bell notification, subscribe, those kind of things. Hit the like button, drop a comment, let us know what you thought. Agree with us, disagree, all that kind of stuff. Any interactions like that, especially comments back and forth, those let YouTube's algorithm know that you're enjoying this and you want to see it. And if it got you to respond like that, maybe somebody else would too. So if you thought this was any good and you want to have somebody else jump in, or you want to share it with somebody else, you want other people to see it, do that for us. It takes a second. Just hit the subscribe, hit the bell, hit the like button, maybe drop a comment if you can. And then share it with somebody. Same with the podcast. Share it with somebody. Let people know. Subscribe. Leave us a review. 5 stars, of course, right? For Jesus. Okay. We're not like that. But no, leave us a review. Let us know what you really think. And you can go on Anchor and drop a voicemail if you feel like sharing something. Maybe you want to share your own story or comment back on something. We'd love to consider that. Take that into consideration on topics to cover and or potential things to include in the show. All that said, goodness gracious, that was a lot. Scott, I love you, man.
Love you.
All right.
Well, I'm going to upload these to the same folder that I usually put my audio in, and then you can post them and do what you want with them. I'll put all the ones that we've finalized, and then I'll do a couple of the previews just because they're fun to look at. Because then if you're just listening to this and you can't be bothered to watch the whole YouTube thing, you can go to our website when these are posted and just kind of see. I'll do one of the Jesus ones with all 4 of them, and then which one we kind of ended up with feet growing out of people's chests and stuff.
Right. The weird finger, multiple tentacle
weird.
Hand.
And the propaganda was funny. I forgot we did that.
Yeah. Propaganda. That was good. All right. So all that to say, be rad for Jesus.
Be rad por Jesus.
Hey, today I am very excited because on the Be Rad for Jesus podcast, I am sitting with my friend, Stephen Jobe, plumber, worship leader, general, amazing man of God, author, and father of Jude the Dude. Yeah. Pretty impressive resume, if you ask me. Also, his wife is amazing and a really good singer. And so the two of them together, one day you're going to buy their albums. I'm serious. But in the meantime, he's here on this podcast. Remember us when you get famous. So, Stephen, how are you doing today, man? Welcome to the Be Rad for Jesus podcast.
Yeah, I'm good, man. What's funny is we just produced that book that got it going. And I don't think about it very often. People say, "Oh yeah, you're a published author." I'm like, I am.
Oh yeah, I totally knew that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. That's really kind. Yeah, we're doing well. We just put Jude down to bed. So
may or may not have a signed copy right there. Have it in my bag because. If nothing else on Saturday, my plan is to take some Sabbath time and dig into this a little deeper.
That's awesome.
So, because I want to post a good review on Goodreads and on Amazon for it. I want to And so I want to get a thorough, deep reading of it, but that's one of 5 books I'm trying to read right now. So I'm falling behind on it. But anyway, okay. So Stephen, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Stephen Jobe? Anything else that I didn't already cover, but I didn't really cover any of it. So
yeah. I think first and foremost, like I've really been trying to lead it into starting with Jesus follower. Before anything else, I think that's kind of, I don't know, it's easy for me to just start throwing out accolades and hope it's good, but I would also say like, not just a plumber, but we also own a plumbing company, which has been really exciting and, challenging. And, they always say that business ownership pulls out the worst in you. So
nice.
Yeah.
Feeling that?
It's been, it's been super humbling. And,
awesome.
I have a story for a little bit later. I'm sure that'll come out, about
awesome.
Just today. Yeah.
So. Cool. Okay. So yeah, as you just mentioned, and I'm somewhat familiar with your company because I did the logo. Very, very excited for you because of all the people that I've known that do random things while also being heavily involved in ministry. You've got one of the hardest jobs. And I know this because a mutual friend of ours, who is also an intern of mine for a time, started working with you, when you were working at a different plumbing company. And, he still talks about how that was one of the hardest jobs, he's ever done. May or may not have something to do with him falling off a ladder or roof or, whatever. But, anyway, we're not here to make fun of him as much. We're laughing with you, Cody. We love you. But I know it's a hard job. It's a dirty job. And yet, you bring such a grace and presence to it. And it's really impressive because, what you hope is the people that you see on stage preaching, leading worship, leading communion, doing some sort of prayer, devotion, or anything like that. Anybody that even wears a name badge or something at church, like somebody who's got some sort of leadership, assignment to them that somehow is given like, hey, this is a person who represents our church and even more Jesus and his kingdom because of who they are, that they would back that up in life. And I feel like you've got a job where it'd be easy not to. And yet, in my experience, because we had to utilize your services a couple times, and it was really, really good. And I've heard nothing but good things. You've got tons of great reviews. People are stoked on all the things you post, and it's pretty great. But like we said, Stephen also helps lead worship. He worked on staff with me at Pantano Church when I was the student ministry pastor and overseeing all of student ministry, and way in over my head because I got hired to be the number 2 guy in that ministry and then started as the top dude without a number 2 guy. So I'm like learning the ropes of everything and had no one else on staff. So we quickly hired Steven, and that was one of the best things that happened to me while I was there, is getting to work with this guy. And just, there were moments where you were on staff, there were moments where you were stipend of some sort, I guess. And there were moments where you were purely a volunteer. And in all of those times, you're just an amazingly talented, but also humble and, godly human. And I really enjoyed working with you. I still enjoy our friendship. So
yeah, heck yeah. Thanks,
and how old's Jude now? Tell us a little bit about that guy.
Oh,
so
yeah,
personal.
He's 2.5. I always like to say that Paige is married
pandemic
to Tigger.
baby.
Yeah. He's gonna be a what do they call it? A quarantine.
Yeah,
when he's old enough. Anyway, but yeah, no, I always say that Paige is married to Tigger, so it's kind of like he is all of my adventure with all of Paige's logical thinking. So he's
nice.
The kid can get through pretty much anything. He thinks his
That's
way out.
awesome.
Anything we can throw at him, he's able to get through it.
Yeah.
So he's awesome, man.
And you're at that age where you really, from here forward, you really keep seeing more and more personality as they go. So a 2.5 is a good time. You're also just about in time for the terrible 3s. So, God bless your ministry. They say it's the terrible 2s, and it's a lie, man. You get through the 2s and you're like, that wasn't bad at all. Just wait. It's coming.
They call it the 3-nager, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They call it. Yeah.
Yes. And oh man, my kids, they would like multiply on each other. They would like feed off each other's fits. It was incredible. But okay, so other than that, tell us a little bit about, you own a plumbing company, so you're plumbing all the time, doing that kind of stuff. In relation to the church, tell us a bit about how you currently serve and anything else you want to add from your previous church experience.
Yeah. So mainly right now we're just heavily involved in leading worship. And so whatever that kind of looks like, that could be something as simple as just leading a song here and there on a weekend, all the way up to just filling in for an entire weekend. And it's not just at Pantano. There's other churches that will call us and ask us to come out and jump in, but yeah, just really leaning into that. There's this last weekend, we had just such a powerful worship service. It's not very common, at least in our church, for people to just come down and kneel. That's not really something that people do. Yeah.
It's not the like standard, like, okay, we're doing worship, so now it's time for the altar call and on my knees in prayer. Kind of, it's not that church.
Right. Right. And usually like, I'm probably the most energetic person in the room and on the stage. So, but this guy, like, he just walks up and he just gets on his knees and he's just surrendered to the Lord, during worship.
That's awesome.
I feel like we've just had this move of the Spirit that's been pushing across the church over the last couple of weeks. And it's just been really, really beautiful. So I feel like part of my involvement in that is just stewarding the abilities that we have and the leadership that we have to kind of help the rest of the team get a little bit more comfortable in their shoes,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, mainly just worship. We're involved with Rocky Point. We go to Rocky Point every single year. So we're kind of jumping in on that as well.
Tell us a little about that, because people listening won't know what that is.
Yeah. So Rocky Point, essentially each year our church goes down for a few days and we just build houses for people. They go through an organization called One Mission, and
that's through. So your church, Pantano, is in Tucson, Arizona, which is just 60 miles north of Arizona. It's of Arizona, in Arizona, 60 miles north of the Mexican border. So it's really close to Mexico, but you drive kind of west instead of toward Mexico. And then you go south way on the edge of Arizona and you head down to Puerto Penasco or Rocky Point, which is down in the Gulf of California, but on the mainland side. There's this little spike of a beach called Rocky Point, and there's some just outside of the main city that's there. There's kind of a sprawling extra village kind of growing out the side of it with no real infrastructure and doesn't even have real roads really. And one mission has a headquarters down there, or a big headquarters down there right outside of town. And Pantano's been partnered with them. I've gone down multiple times. It's super cool. But just to give some context for those listening who, like, I didn't know. Everyone's like, we're going to Rocky Point. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but okay, I'm in. That sounds fun. Yeah, great. And Lord willing, no hurricanes this year, because that was a rough, that was a rough season.
Crazy. Yeah.
Nothing like camping on the beach in a tropical storm.
Yeah, man.
Rain flying upward out of the sand.
Did I ever tell you the story about what happened to the camper? We had, when we got hit by the hurricane, Paige and I are sleeping in the camper and we start feeling a little bit of water come down and we look up and the speaker in the roof is like a shower head. I'm just straight down on the bed and we're like, dude. Anyway.
No. Oh, that's horrible. Great. Yeah. I brought my tent. We have a 10-person tent, it says 10 people, but it's really like 4 fitting there. And so we had a big tent like that, and I brought that down, and I had all the rain fly, strapped down and everything, good knots on it and all that. And the wind broke multiple ropes off of mine. And so the rain fly flew up in the midst of the storm. And so I was sleeping, somebody let me borrow a cot. And so I was sleeping on a cot inside my tent. And all of a sudden I was like swimming in the cot. it filled with water. And like the amount of time it took me to catch a bucket of water in the face and wake up, my cot was already overflowing with water. My sleeping bag was like, I got up and was wringing it out. It took me about half an hour to like catch all the things and fix them. It was like 1 a.m, middle of the hurricane. I mean, just, yeah, it was super fun. I'm like, I had pretty good, boot hiking shoes on, and those were like completely under the surface of the water and mud on the beach there. Like, it was glorious. I'm the only one who ventured outside, even after I won't name the other people in my tent, but there were 3 of them, and all 3 of them made use of the same giant Gatorade bottle instead of braving the storm to use the facilities during the night. And I was like, y'all are special. Okay. Anyway,
that's something.
I didn't do that. I was like, I don't care. I'm getting back in the hurricane. I was like, please don't spill that in my tent. We've had enough. Okay. Anyway, so, former youth pastor got to make that pee joke. Yeah.
He's like, just go, man. It's warm.
It's warm. So anyway, yeah, good times, good memories. If you haven't had a crazy mission trip story, have you really gone on a mission trip? I mean, dude, let's be honest.
When we flew into Indonesia, and we had the cops called on us as soon as we landed. Yeah.
Wow.
Dude. Yeah.
What'd you do?
Nothing. We were American and white and showing up to a place or like a specific area that nobody ever goes. And we get off the plane.
Definitely shady.
Oh yeah. We get off the plane and they're like, why are you here? And we're like, well, we're here to see friends. Like, yeah, right. And we walk through security and there's like a line. We're walking through like a row of cops, like either side of us. We get into a van. They drive us. As soon as we get to the house, the chief of police calls the guy and he's like, hey, who are your friends? We're just like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Like, they're all drug mules. Don't worry about it. They'll leave soon.
Don't worry about it, bro. We're fine.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Dude.
Fun. So, dude, that's amazing. So you've been to Indonesia, you go to Mexico, all the time, every year for a while now, bunch of years.
Yeah.
But let's roll it back a little bit. I know you've been leading worship all the way back into like high school, maybe even middle school. I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, middle school.
But share a little bit, if you would, about even growing up that much around church. When is the moment where Jesus radically changed your life and where you would say like, that's when I met Jesus?
Oh man. Dude, it's funny. I feel like meeting Jesus has been like a repetitive thing for me. Not like I went back to ground zero, but it's like each time I have these multiple moments where it's like I re-meet him and he's hasn't changed, but he's totally different,
Yeah.
I grew up in the church. I don't remember a time where I wasn't going to church. And I did get baptized when I was 9, and I have a very small memory of me, in my brain, I think it's like a Billy Graham thing. It wasn't a Billy Graham thing, but I like to think it was.
Maybe like Harvest Festival or something?
Yeah, something. I remember walking. I have a very small memory of me walking downstairs to go and be prayed over to receive Jesus when I was really young. Got baptized when I was 9. I think the first real moment when I really was like, oh man, like this is for real. I was 11 and I was in the middle school at Pantano, middle school service. And they were doing some worship song. And I remember just walking to the back of these booths and sitting down with somebody there and just saying, hey, like, I think I want to accept Jesus again into my heart,
Yeah.
And so, so there was like that moment. And then like the next one was probably when I was like 19. I mean, I really feel like I followed Jesus as best I could, growing up. But when I was 19, I had gotten married and we shipped off to YWAM, which is just a crazy first year of marriage. But
yeah,
it was that year.
It's one way to start.
I was just, but that year the Lord like broke my addiction, I had a 10-year addiction to pornography. And so everything kind of came to a front, and I really like that one was big. Like I really met Jesus on that one, I think and then probably the most recent one was actually in Rocky Point. I was standing in the water as people were getting baptized, and I just felt like this call, you should get baptized. And I just stood there, like I couldn't move. And the majority of people left, and all that were left were just like a few just a few people.
Yeah.
And I just walked up and I was like, hey, I need to be baptized. And it was like just another moment of Jesus being like, hey, like, remember me?
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, man, there's the definitive moment for starting a relationship, I feel like was where I actually made the decision was about 11 years old. But it's just been this continual, just like walking with Jesus and like rediscovering him all over again. It's just been really beautiful.
That's awesome, man. I love that. Dude, that's so good. I remember, cause I was there, I think the year that you got baptized and we'd been hanging out. I think it was a year where I wasn't helping with all of that because I definitely did some of the baptisms one of the years, but, then I think that might've been the year my family was there. Cause then we left and then I like saw the photos later or you said something later that night or something. And I was like, hang on, wait a second. I didn't know. But that's super cool. And, I love that I very much, have like a couple years where I'm not sure at what point in there, like if I had been hit by a truck, like, I don't know where I was going. Like there was a moment where I definitely was like, I believe in God, but I wasn't really declaring Jesus as Lord. I said it a couple times, but I wasn't living it. I wasn't living like I believed it. There was no real dedication. There was just kind of this claim and it sounded cool. Right. But as soon as I was outside of a church, I was it was all lip service. And I don't know at what point in there I really even had faith. And so, I remember the first time I looked at like a pastoral, application for credentialing. And that was one of the questions. And I was like, like, what date exactly did you get saved? It was like, what date were you saved? What date were you baptized? And what date did you first, receive the baptism of the Holy Spirit? And I was like, freaking, I don't know, like roughly between these 3 years for salvation, sometime in like 2002 for baptism, I think, or 2003 maybe. And then like, I don't even remember when I got baptized. Like, I know it was somewhere in there, but I don't have like paperwork on it or anything. And then, speaking in tongues, like I remember the night of being overwhelmed and baptized in the Spirit, but I don't remember exactly what date it was. I didn't go home like, dear diary, I spoke in tongues. Let me write them for you. Which is the bet, like online ministry, people typing in tongues in the chat. And you're like, I mean,
you're just sliding across the keyboard.
But
this guy just keeps writing QWERTY over and over and over again.
Well, and then like, you got to figure people with like, cause like, you went to YWAM. I'm like, you've experienced charismatic and
definitely
stuff. And so like, some people it's just like clicking or something like and so like, I mean, what do you type there? Just like, a bunch of punctuation and so like, anyway, I don't know how to, I'm not trying to diminish the thing, but I heard that on another podcast. It was kind of funny. Like they were like, this guy, like we had to mute him because he was spamming the chat. And then like when we called him out on it and talked privately, he was like, I was praying in tongues. And they were like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Did you get Google Translate to be your interpreter or?
Yeah, no. Google translating Jesus. All right. No. So, dude, but I love all of those moments that you can highlight because I mean Paul says we die to ourselves daily, so there's a lot to be said of that idea of continually going back and checking our hearts and who hasn't been in a youth group where there's the moment, or maybe even in big church where there was a moment where you like take a piece of paper and you write your sin and then you go nail it to a cross, like that. You did that at some point, right? We did that a couple of times at Pantano students while I was there. And I know people had done that before I got there. So, there's always more to take back to Jesus, always something else to die to.
I would add to that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry. I would say I would add to that story I was telling you about earlier about today. Just I'm working in this backyard. The house is totally vacant. It's a beautiful house. And it starts raining and I'm a sucker for rain, dude. Like it starts raining. I'm like, oh, like it's the blessing of the Lord, So like, anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm re-listening to the service from this last
heavens. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Let it rain.
Yeah. That's the one. Yeah. Let it rain. Sorry. Okay. Continue.
So I'm listening to this service from Pantano this last week because it's just like I said, it's powerful. But they had been originally streaming the 11 o'clock service, and at some point they switched back over to the 9, right? Because that's pretty typical. They pick the one that maybe landed best. I don't know. So I'm expecting the 11 o'clock. It's all in my ears. And dude, I'm just having this moment like with Jesus as I'm working, like, it's like, I'm like, Lord, I really want your presence right now. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like what, you know my heart. So I go and it starts raining and I was like, okay, I'm going to take a break because I'm trying to drill through tile, which is like impossible. And I go and I sit underneath this patio area. It's really nice out. Probably like 70 degrees. the Lord thudded up so nice. And, so I sit down, dude.
Such a cold day for Arizona.
So I sit down and I'm like listening. And what's really weird is like the song that the last song we did was Here As in Heaven by Elevation Worship, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm singing it in my ears, which is just so bizarre. Like it's like I'm like leading myself in worship, which is just anyway. But dude, I'm telling you, man, it's like Jesus stepped into the backyard. Like, this is the only way I can explain it, dude. I'm sitting there like, if there's, I hope there's not a camera at that house because it'd be really awkward later on. But dude, I'm sitting there just like weeping, like just in me going back to that whole thing of like, it feels like a continual like recognition of who Jesus is and like re-meeting him. And it's like, dude, it's like he just walked into the backyard and just sat right next to me. And I was just like, good Lord, like, like you're so good, and you're like I can't even put into words what I'm like, what you are. Like I'm just so in love with you,
Yeah.
And so anyway, like that kind of adds to the whole like that whole dying to yourself daily. Even more than that, it's like
I love it.
It's like I don't know, like Jesus is so consistent, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. No, dude, I know, like just in stuff relating to student ministry and or just praying together. Like I know we've had some pretty cool moments and times of ministry together and stuff, but something like right there, like what you were sharing, that's part of, and it's like a delicate balance, but that's part of why even this podcast exists. That like, like our kind of theme or tagline is, because following Jesus is radically different and radically awesome. And there's those moments, those glimpses of heaven that, if we really believe God is who he says he is, they just make sense.
Oh yeah.
It's, we don't want to get to where that's all we're ever chasing. And Jesus definitely shunned that. But there's also this thing where he says, like, I'll give you life to the full. I'll give you abundant life. Some translations say, like, it's meant to be something completely different. It's meant to be something that I think, like glimpses of like where Paul talks about, like in 1 Corinthians 13, like now we see only as in a mirror or window or glass darkly, but then we will see fully. And like, we're meant to catch these glimpses of what eternal glory in the presence of Christ is like. And it's so much more than like an awareness that his grace is with me. Like it's not just like a knowledge, it's a heartfelt, holistic redemption. Right. And, so anyway, all that to say, it was a really short question, but, lead into it. What's one, moment with God that stands out as like, this is one of the most like radical things that's ever happened to me in the presence of Jesus?
I'm going to cough. Sorry. That was going to sound great on recording. That wasn't it.
It'll be fine. We can mute that part, or I'll just chop it. I'll chop it to when you start answering really wisely.
Chop out me just
dying. Be like, wow, he
here.
just had that off the top of his head.
Just like a brief cut. Oh man. Like a singular moment's hard. Like I've seen I've seen prayers answered in like a second, like you pray for it and it just pops in. We've seen healings, which is just wild to witness. I'm trying to think though. I think like the biggest thing like in my life that's happened was freedom from the addiction. But I think in like a singular moment, man, I don't know. I honestly got to think about that one.
That's all right. Well, even if you just think like, or, let's just talk a couple of them, or like just a couple things that come to mind. For me, like just what's fun about, being friends with you and, not the only thing, but something that I really enjoy about, being around you and talking to you, is that moments like what you just described where you're like, I was at work, I was drilling through tile and then it started raining and I just sat and the worship's playing in my headphones and I just had this moment, all of a sudden, like, the presence of Christ. And here I am at the altar again. And it's like, yeah, dude, like that doesn't happen to everyone. And I know a few people that do have moments like that regularly, but like, It's not a surprise to me to hear that was your day. Like some other people, I might be like, holy cow, really? That's amazing. Like, I can't believe, but like with you, I'm like, well, yeah. and that's like in a really good way. I just feel like there are some people I know who are really open to and attuned to the Holy Spirit moving and aware of that presence of God and aware of his presence, in those moments. And, in one that I don't know if it was like, I can think of a couple of times just in doing ministry with you, where things came up. I remember one time where I was talking about some, kind of consistent criticism I'd been getting. And gosh, now, even now, just the actual words, are escaping me. They're on the tip of my tongue a second ago. And then I was trying to like give it some context and I lost it. But I just remember, basically like part of the criticism and attack on me was that, it was being said that, like, you're not ready, you're too loose. You don't have enough stuff together. And the assumption from that, because things were different, because we'd have two services and the message would be different. I mean, even like, significantly different lengths at times, as well as just sometimes, kind of different emphasis and whatnot throughout the same points in scripture mostly. And just this kind of accusation that I wasn't preparing or something. And I just remember you kind of coming back as I was just kind of sharing that and just being like, dude, I'm like wrapped up in self-doubt and everything else. And you were just like, I don't know, man. Like I see, when I watch that happen, like it doesn't seem frivolous. It doesn't seem like you're not prepared or you're not engaged with God in it, that you're not trying to bring what the students need. It seems like when it shifts like that, it's because there was somebody in that service that needed to hear it that way. Mm-hmm. And I just remember you expressing that. And even just as the worship leader in the room, feeling that shift, that presence, that leading, and then being able to jump into that with, coming in to lead worship at the end of the service and everything. And, I just remember like what a deep encouragement that was, but that was also like like in that moment, it was like, dude, I feel like I put so much, into trying to keep my ears open to the voice of God throughout the entire process of preparing series and sermons and all everything and getting ready and getting up on stage and just being like, God, I don't even care what I plan to say. I hope you say what you want to say. I hope that's what the students hear. May every word fail to come out of my mouth and these students draw nearer to you and know you more from this. And to get up on stage and then have all of that just be thrown out as you're sloppy and unprepared. And then to have that turn back around where, without expressing, but this is what I'm trying to do. And just to have you, I think, led by God to offer that encouragement of like, no, I see this, ears to hear.
And I think that's so important, dude. Like, there's definitely place for time and for planning things. People have to pick up their kids, but at the same time,
they'll get them back eventually.
Yeah, whatever. but there has to be a place, and that's what I love about what the season that Pantano's in right now. Like this last weekend, it's just like it's like it almost feels like everyone's finally going, hey, maybe this Holy Spirit guy's actually legit. And maybe we should probably.
It's not just the Father, listening. Son, the Holy Book.
Yeah. Casper.
Yeah. Shout out to Cody for that one too, because that was his saying from.
Was it? Oh, that's good.
He said he had a professor that was kind of like that. Yeah.
I need to call him.
Me too. Anyway, I just had that same thought.
But yeah, man, like I don't know. It's something that I think that hopefully like the church, especially in America, begins to really push into, and not like in a you have a charismatic personality, so you're automatically gifted and lumped into prophetic, like
right.
That ain't how it goes there, brother.
Yeah.
No,
there's a lot of kooks out there that try to operate in that lane, but it is not their lane.
Right. Yeah. You could be outgoing, but that doesn't mean that you have prophetic gifts.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So with that, like, I think I have a thought on a potential response to this, but I'm going to ask you first. I mean, on a aspect where I see it in your life, but so we kind of hit that like radically awesome piece, right? A little bit. You didn't share if you got something else that comes to mind, but you had a story from today that is awesome. So like of all the things, just it was Tuesday, but where do you see? I like asking this question because it's interesting because it's a different angle on kind of the same thing. But where do you see life being different because of following Jesus, like compared to the world? Like what, for you personally, not the theology answer, not the like right Sunday school answer, but like where in your life do you feel like this is where I feel the farthest from the rest of the world or from my worldly friends or, whatever, that like, this is where I see the clearest distinction where following Jesus really takes me on a radically different angle than anybody else who's just following whatever, or even just what my own proclivities would be.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like it has to do with my outlook on things, which may be a churchy answer. But whatever. I think like I've always, even from a young age, I've always been not even just positive. Like I'm a very glass half full person in general, but there's something when something is actually happening in a room, be it to me, be it to somebody else, whatever. And I guess it's just the Lord's grace to allow me to realize that like, it's a lot deeper than what it actually looks like. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot more spiritual stuff that's actually happening at that moment. And so for me, and it goes deeper than just like pulling the spiritual discernment card. It's like I started going back to the gym a couple months, maybe a month ago now. It's probably not true. Like 3 weeks. It's been a really painful 3 weeks, but I started going back to the gym. And one of the things that I kind of have realized about that is like Jesus is just as much in the spiritual side of things as he is in the physical side of things, and so for me to have like an outlook of like eternity inside of something that's just simply lifting weights, like I'm not taking this body with me to eternity, but while I'm here, like I want to make sure that my body's ready to be the best possible, I don't know, like leader that I can be. It gives me more energy when I'm on stage leading people. It gives me more energy when I'm at work. Like even just being able, not being so tired at work, sitting at a kitchen table with somebody who would never go to church. And I'm able to go, hey, how can I pray for you? And not thinking about how my body feels in that moment because I'm tired and I ate bad the night before. It also allows me to like step in and be a more active father, which is like, hello, disciple number one, like, and so, so for me to like be able to just, I guess, just see things in a way that's like a little bit more eternally focused, and which I guess could have a little bit of a negative emotion spin to it for me.
Yeah.
Like, because I am like that, I view everything that way. So like, like the fear of the Lord is, it's brutal.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm very,
but it's also the beginning of wisdom.
No, right. And I'm very conscious, like conscious. Yeah. I'm very conscious of like the things where I misstep, and where I, so things like that. And those are the things that I really have to bring to the Lord, because it's like, if I don't, man, I'm dead in the water, man. But yeah, dude, like following Jesus, and he's just radically changed like how I view things, how I look at situations, people, and being able to kind of look past certain things that other people have a really hard time looking past. Yeah. And that's just the grace of Jesus, man. Like it's not
Absolutely.
me.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah,
dude,
for sure, man. I love that. That's a phenomenal answer. Well thought. I just love how deep you go, man. 'Cause you don't like,
it's because I can't swim in a pool.
But so many people, can you really not swim?
No, I can totally swim. I was just saying, like, I was just trying to be funny.
Well, I didn't want to just like flippantly go by that if you were like, I really can't swim. You made fun of it.
That's a big problem for me.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I just, so many people are just kind of like, yeah, I mean, Jesus is cool. And like, here's some stuff, but it's like, I don't know. There's just, a depth in a lot of that. And your process is like, you're not thinking on surface levels. You're thinking on really deeply rooted, levels of things. And so, in the spirit of that, I want to stay really deep and play a game with you. So, whoops, I almost threw a Bible on the floor. So that was like 7 minutes of bad luck or something.
It's okay. You're not carrying Jesus anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So, I found a game that's an older game, from back when, my friend made it, but, I picked this up back when I was, helping contribute to a youth ministry site called youthmin.org. It's actually how I met Nick, which led to me getting to Pantano. And, from there, one of the things that we produced were games. And so one of the other guys made this. I didn't make this game. It might have been Nick who made it. Maybe you've played it before. But anyway, it's Finish the Lyric Worship Songs Edition, but it's an old version. So it's going to be like, the first one is going to be a song that we all know, but it's been overplayed like crazy. And so, as a worship leader, I feel like you're okay about knowing the words. I've known people who are not as good as you at knowing the lyrics. But I know a lot of people that don't have to look like, I'm the same way though. Like there will be a song that I straight up like know inside and backwards and forward and upside down and in another language. And as soon as it's time for me to lead it in front of people, I'm like, the slide was late. I don't know what the line was, or I read the wrong slide anyway while I'm staring at the screen.
And you try to fit the slide into the lyric and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. On Sunday. On Sunday, I started singing. What were we singing? Battle Belongs. Mm-hmm. And I was leading that. And like second line of the song, it's like, I don't even remember the first line. It doesn't matter. But like the first line, second line, but I looked down and sang line 2 of verse 2, not verse 1. And I was like, nah, that's not it. And then I also, I had 2 female vocalists singing with me, but I ended up leading Forever by Jobe. And I didn't explain it clearly. And so like, I didn't say like, hey, let me know if this is a good key for you guys to lead in, because I want you guys to lead it. And so I ended up leading it, which is fine. And it was fine. It actually sounded really pretty. And they were harmonizing on it. Like the one girl was just doubling the melody, but she wasn't quite confident in leading it herself. And then the other lady that was singing was, singing harmony. It was beautiful. And all during rehearsal on Friday, and then during, sound check on Sunday, both times it's going well. And I'm like, all right, this is going to be so good. And I start it, and I don't know what got into my brain, but I couldn't think of the verse melody. So I sang both verses in the pre-chorus melody. And I'm like, the whole time I'm like, I know this isn't right, but I can't fix it. I don't know how to get there. And I even stopped and was like, I'm sorry. I lost it because that was the wrong melody. But we've already praised Jesus, so we're just going to keep going. And here's the pre-chorus. We're just going to sing this.
Y'all might as well keep coming.
The stone is rolled away, so let's do it. But I straight up said that in the mic, leading my church in worship.
Oh, that's awesome,
because, dude. If nothing else, we will be authentic. And that's
it. That's it, dude.
Yeah, that's so anyway, in the spirit of maybe or maybe not actually knowing the words, this one's a gimme. You got this. So question 1. Spirit lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the water.
Wherever you would call me.
Yes. Is
that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Wherever you would call me. And that's Oceans by Hillsong. So yeah, 1 point. Well done, sir.
It was easy.
That was easy. Okay. This one, we're actually, I lied. It's not all worship songs. I was thrown off because the first question was a worship song. So the next one, is by Taylor Swift. So it says, but I keep cruising, can't stop, won't stop grooving. It's like I got this music.
I think it's in my mind, and everything's gonna be all right.
That's kind of how I hear it, but it says in my mind saying it's going to be all right. Which
it's close.
I got this music in my mind saying it's going to, everything's going to be something like that. Yeah. I'll give it to you. It's close enough. You knew it.
It's like that song about potatoes. Taters gonna tate.
They call me tater salad. All right. I'm not going to sing this one because I don't really know it. I do. I just don't know how to sing it. So that's fine. But, okay. So this is Maps by Maroon 5. Are you a big Adam Levine fan?
Oh, let's give it a shot.
Let's give it a shot. Okay. So it's, but I wonder where were you when I was at my worst, down on my knees, and you said you had my back. So I wonder where were you?
Where were you? Oh my gosh, I don't know. I know like the melody, but I can't tell you what the words are. Nope, I don't know that one.
It's when all the roads you took came back to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Most people would probably just sing the last part. They just kind of back to me.
Yeah. A map that leads to you. A map that leads to you. Then I want to. I don't know. I can't sing that high. Following. But I sound like the guy from The Darkness when I try to sing falsetto.
They need to bring Barry Gibbs on that one.
No, I think they should have the dude from The Darkness. You remember that song? And then he goes riffs way up high. It's just so dumb. And then he calls out the solo. He goes guitar, and then it plays like the cheesiest hair metal solo. Oh, it's so good. Anyway, all right. Here's John Mark McMillan. How He Loves. Ready?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And heaven meets earth like a.
I know what that says, and it's not sloppy wet kiss. It is.
That's the OG. This one says the wrong thing. Yeah. but it is sloppy. His original lyric was sloppy wet. This says unforeseen. Anyway, heaven meets earth like an unforeseen kiss. It should be sloppy wet. My heart turns violently inside of my chest.
Inside of my chest. I can't something. Oh my gosh.
Heaven meets earth like a sloppy wet kiss, and my heart turns violently inside of my chest.
I don't have time to maintain these regrets when I think about. Yeah, that's it.
The way. There it is.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Maintain these regrets. I couldn't think of it the first time I sang it either. I was like, because I'm looking at the blank slide because it's meant to be a game on screen, and I'm like, I don't know.
No idea.
Okay, here's one that did you ever? Okay, I definitely went to a youth conference where they played this. The worship band played this as one of the hype nights. You know, like when the students all go in and like this song's just purely for chaos. It's not actually, and this is specifically definitely not a worship song, but who was the band? I don't even remember. But the band that led worship at Planet Wisdom a long time ago when I went down there,
it's such a church conference name.
Yeah, it is. They're like, pre-service kickoff song was "What Does the Fox Say?" And they played that.
Dude.
And so you remember that song? So it goes, dog goes woof, cat goes meow, bird goes tweet, and mouse goes squeak. Cow goes moo, frog goes croak, and the elephant goes toot. Ducks say quack, and fish go blub.
You know what's funny is I just downloaded this song onto a playlist. Don't judge me.
Really? Why?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I was nostalgic. I was having a moment. Okay.
Oh man, I for sure would not have gotten this one. Not if I was listening to it and we paused it, I would have gotten it wrong. I think I knew every line up to this part where it stops.
What's the last line again? What was the last line again?
Ducks say quack and fish go blub. Cow goes moo, frog goes croak.
Oh, it's oh yeah, I got it. It's
goes toot. Ducks say quack.
And all the crickets go to the club.
Blub. And the seal goes ow, ow, ow.
Nobody ever would have guessed that. I'm thinking like rhyme with blubs. I was like, oh yeah, like crickets in the club. That could work.
And the crickets playing violins in the club. Chirp, chirp. All right. All right. So that's, I think the only ones you got were you got, How He Loves. So we didn't get, you got Taylor Swift. We didn't get
T-Swift.
3. And then we got, because I'm keeping points because they matter.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And then we missed.
This is how I get into the next one. No, I understand.
Question 5 here. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All of Me by John Legend. What would I do without your smart mouth drawing me in and kicking me out? You've got my head. I wouldn't have known this either.
No, yeah, no way, dude. No, you know the only song I know by John Legend is Ooh Ah.
I don't know that one either.
Don't know it? Yeah, it's
nope.
Ooh Ah. Yeah, it's great.
All right, well, so that's 3 and 3. It's spinning. No kidding. I can't pin you down. Let's go for 7. Best of 7 because that's 3 yes and 3 no. Okay, this one. You don't have a daughter, but still, I know you love Disney because I saw you were there recently. So I know you, and I knew that anyway, but like, okay, so, my power flurries through the air into the ground. My soul is spiraling in frozen fractals all around.
I don't know it.
Let It Go by out of Frozen.
I know it's Let It Go.
Idina Menzel. Or
no idea.
Nadel Mazine, however you want to say that.
Yeah. Mezzanine Nadal.
Yeah.
I have no idea, dude. I can sing the Let It Go part.
And one thought crystallizes like an icy blast. I'm never going back. The past is in the past.
Circle K needs to make that their theme song for their ices.
Really?
Yeah, no, they should.
Oh, they should. I thought you said used to. I was like, wow, that's one
that's
thing.
Copyright infringement.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Speaking of copyrights that were not released by the song owners, Preparation H tried for so long to talk Johnny Cash's estate into releasing Ring of Fire to them. And they wouldn't do it. The guy, because I think his son owns the estate, and he's like, awesome. Dude, that's a love song about my dad, like, and my mom. No, I'm not letting you use it for hemorrhoid cream. I fell into a burning ring of fire. Oh man. Oh, kids, you picture it. All right. Well, not so great there. That's okay though. Yeah. I still love you. And you've always been a good sport in playing games and things.
Even though you suck.
No, it's funner if you either have to completely crush the students or lose really graciously. And I feel like there were things in which you could destroy, like lip sync. And there were things where, dude, do you remember me and Ann Hedgecock lip syncing to, I don't even remember. It was like some duet. It might've been from Aladdin. And we did a lip sync battle, and that was so freaking fun. But then, gosh, I can't think of her name. Little tiny girl that sang on the worship team. She was like a senior, but she was like 4 foot nothing. Weighed about 45 pounds soaking wet. She was into musical theater and stuff. And she did the, who's the girl that did All About That Bass, but it was her other song. This is the worst story ever. Meghan Trainor. But her other song was, if I was you, I'd wanna be me too. And I just remember on the two, she like turned and she was like hopping in a circle, like two. And like, it was so, cause she was just so little and just so funny. And so animated in the way she sang that. And she just absolutely destroyed us. It was so good. Anyway. Awesome. Yeah, it was good. It was really good. Okay. Last, I'm done with the game. Well done. You were a good sport. I'll give you a sympathy clap.
Thank you.
Golf clap. Yeah. Okay. Last thing I want to ask. And this one is the most important. Kind of, actually. I didn't mean it. I was just saying that as a joke, but that I was going to like take it back. I'm like,
it might actually be.
It might be.
No pressure.
Yeah. No. So to anyone who may not be in a place where they're following Jesus, whether it's a friend who's kind of walked away, an acquaintance or friend or stranger who's questioning or wondering about the possibility of faith, or somebody who's just, struggling or maybe even deconstructing or something or going through hurt or whatever else. Why is Jesus worth following? What is so radically different and radically awesome? Because he does call us to a radically different life. And I think sometimes people get that, but then the cost seems too high. And Jesus said to count the cost, and he sets it up like, if you don't despise your family and everything. I just preached on this, so that's fresh in my head. Sure. There's a lot to give up to follow him. He says, take up your cross and follow me, or you can't be my disciple. And that's a big ask. And yet it's totally worth it. Why? What would you say?
I think it's like, like Jesus isn't afraid of you wrestling through that. Like he's 100% real, and it's so good to recognize him in his perfection, and he's worthy of it. But at the same time, just like the story about the pool that I told earlier, like he consistently like walks into the mess, and you don't have to be ashamed of it. Like and even in that questioning, like I've had those moments. I think we all have of like, is this really worth it? Is this like, and when you stop being afraid to question those things and you actually just like lean into it, I think that you'll realize that Jesus is sitting at the same table that you're questioning those things at, you know? I think that a lot of times like people like they think that they have to be perfect all the time and like nail it. And like, you got to go to church on Sundays. You got to do the communion. You got to do X, Y, and Z, raise your hands, get prayed, whatever. And it's like, I think Jesus is just like one of the best ways that I've heard it described is like, imagine that you're standing at the door to a club and the bouncer is like, hey, you ain't coming in. And then Jesus walks up and he's like, hey, I'll get you in. All you got to do is hang out with me. And that's it. You know what I mean? And like, I've told that to people before and they're like, Jesus in a club? But like, for real, like that's it.
Twerking.
You know, like all you have to do is just like,
sorry. It was a really good moment and I ruined it.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. No, it's good. Twerk alert. But all you have to do is like, it's just like, you just got to spend time with the Lord, you know? And I don't know, man, like if you're looking for somebody who's consistent, who's honest, who's loving, and who doesn't judge you in the moments where you're at your worst, who's willing to take care of all those issues for you, but allow you to wrestle through them, and someone who cares about your health more than he does. Well, I think he cares about your happiness too, but it's like he loves you enough to bring you in the way you are, but he loves you too much to leave you that way. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, yeah. No,
I love that. The thing about judging, I really love that because he's the only one who's actually qualified to do so. He's the one who actually has that office, right? He is our judge. He sits on the judgment seat. And yet he's the one offering grace and mercy and forgiveness, as opposed to everybody here who wants theirs.
Right.
You know, we want, but we don't want to give. And it's hard to offer grace. And so because we look at it and compare, it's hard to imagine that a God who is perfect would then also offer us grace and mercy. But he does. That's beautiful. I love it. So good, man. So good talking to you. Yeah, it's so fun. Man, you're one of my favorite people. I just really enjoy you. I love who you are and how you, just how you process things. Like, it's just fun hanging out. I'm glad we got to hang out when I was in Tucson recently. That was a good time.
Yeah, dude. I need to fly out there, honestly.
Dude, come hang for real.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It'd be super fun, to have you out here. We'll go sit on mountains and look at a beautiful lake, Tahoe, and, think about Jesus and contemplate him, and then, go to church and whatnot and hang out. It's a cool place where I live, and it's even better hanging out with good friends. So come visit. Dude, Stephen, if people want to follow you, catch up with you, hear more about stuff, or even more, please don't forget to tell people where they can find your book. But how can people connect with you, or what do you want to? This is your chance. What do you want to pitch while you're?
I'm most active because I'm an old man on Facebook. But the business is on Facebook and Instagram. So I do a lot of posting on there. That'll be at Jobe and Sons Plumbing LLC. Also, if you wanted to get a copy of the book, you can go to Amazon, type in Out of the Woods by Stephen Jobe, and it's essentially just a book with like trees on it. You can't really miss it.
Yeah. I got that.
And we should have hopefully, there you go. We should hopefully have website for the business up as well soon. So you can go to jobensonsplumbing.com and eventually it should be up, and I'm sure we'll be posting tons of stuff on there. You can buy swag and all that stuff because we got some stuff coming up. It's going to be good.
Yeah. We get a real actual store hooked up to that.
Yeah. So,
awesome, dude. Well, hey, Steven, thanks for being on here. Thanks for taking some time to hang out with me. Give your family a big hug from the Lucas family up here, and know that you guys are loved. Dude, you are rad for Jesus. So keep it up.
Thanks, man.
Be rad for Jesus. Everybody out there listening, that too. Thanks for being on the podcast, man.
Heck yeah, dude. Anytime.
Okay, that's it for this week's episode of the Be Rad for Jesus podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've stuck around this long, you either hate us so bad you want to find out where to complain, or you really loved it and you want to come back for more. I want to tell you how to do that. You can go to beradforjesus.com, and we have links to everywhere you can stream and subscribe to our podcast. We have episodes, we have show notes, all on there. Or you can find us on anchor.fm or on the Anchor app. You can find us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. And if there's another platform that we don't offer yet, hit us up on the website or through Anchor and let us know where you listen to podcasts and where you would like to hear or engage with this. If you do enjoy the podcast, would you consider leaving us a review, leaving us a rating, sharing it with a friend, posting it on social media, and or even going above and beyond and supporting this podcast? You can do that on Anchor, and that would for sure help us make more episodes of this podcast, because caffeine definitely fuels just about everything we do, almost as much, but not quite as much as the Holy Spirit and our love for Jesus. That said, I hope you have a rad day. Go out and do something incredible. Be rad for Jesus, because following Jesus is radically different and radically awesome.